What's up, everybody? My name is Reggie, and today I'm going to tell you about 8 games you can use to avoid that pesky small talk at social gatherings. Instead of ranking the games, I decided to talk about each of them in order of recently played. This past weekend, I had a big group gathering of my friends, and we got to try a lot of these. So we're going to start with challengers. I played this at 8 players. It is a tournament style game that goes up to 8 and would ideally be best at even numbers, although they do have an AI deck. If you do have an odd number count, I did not get to try that out. Essentially, this is like the classic card game War, where you are going to be flipping cards in your deck to see who earns the trophy. However, in between each of the 7 rounds, you will have a deck phase where you get to choose out of 5 cards to add either 1 or 2 cards to your deck, and you get to choose if you want to cull any cards from your deck as well. So there is a little bit of luck mitigation in the cards that you choose to add to your deck. The game comes with these high quality neoprene mats, 4 of them. I just got the base game, and you put it out, and then you are supposed to move around the table to find your new opponent over 7 rounds. The top 2 people who have the most points after those 7 rounds play off in a final championship battle. It's awesome. My friend group and I absolutely had a blast with this game. I will say it probably isn't for everyone. If you are someone who really is opposed to luck, or wants to have a lot more agency in your games, this might not be for you. But I thought it might be a hit with my friends because we like that medium to lightweight games, and we are okay with luck. We love dice. You call me Rolling Reggie. And it was just such a great time, and I think you could introduce it to a lot of people because at the end of the day, the whole game is flipping your cards against each other, but adding cards to your deck is really the fun and strategy of it. So proceed with caution, but Challengers was a great game that I am so happy that I have in my collection. Moving on to one of the staples in my collection, and the second game on this list that has an exclamation point in the title, that is Bang the Dice Game. Now, this is a game I've talked about many times on my own channel, on OFPG Voices, and even on my Instagram, and it is one I will always talk about because it was a gateway game for me into this hobby of modern board games. Essentially, it is a hidden role game, kind of think mafia style, set in the Wild West. And so the sheriff is revealed, and then the other 7 players are either deputies trying to keep the sheriff alive, outlaws trying to defeat the sheriff, or renegades trying to win for themselves. Each turn, you're going to roll 5d6 dice in a Yahtzee style up to 3 times, and then resolve them based on your roll. But one special piece about this game is that other than the rolls, you also have a special character that you have that can maybe manipulate the dice or is immune to certain hazards or other factors in the game. It's highly, highly replayable because of that. I really recommend the Old Saloon expansion that I also have, and add some more dice and some more characters that we really enjoy as well. This game is always a blast. I have a great time with it. With my group especially. I think if you don't have somebody who's gonna get in a sheriff voice and say this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us, then maybe it isn't the game for you. But for my group, it will keep coming back year after year, and I always bring it to our gatherings. The next game is a party game that I got for Christmas and played a lot over the holiday break, and that is Hues and Cues. This is a game that plays up to 10 players and is extremely welcoming to non-gamers. I am always looking for games that I could teach to grandma or a coworker or someone who has not played a board game since they were 9 years old. And this is one of those. It has this big colorful board with a lot of different squares of different hues of color. In round 1, the cue giver will give a 1-word clue to try to get everyone else to guess where their color is. So the example was flamingo. Everybody puts their pawns down, and then in round 2, they might say strawberry milkshake to continue to it. And you get more points as the cue giver if people are close to the actual correct answer. And as the guessers, you get points for being dead on or within a few squares of it. Again, it is something that would be easy to teach to so many different types of people, and why I really recommend it. The one concern I'd have with it is it's just not colorblind friendly, just straight up. I don't know if there's some sort of alternate mode to do it, but I don't think that a colorblind person would have a great time with this game about colors. And so I'm always trying to look at fully accessible games, so keep that in mind, especially if you're playing with a new group. But for a 10-player party game, it's really hard to find another game that's this enjoyable for gamers and non-gamers alike. Now I'm going to talk about the #1 party game according to Board Game Geek, and that is Decrypto. Now this is what I like to refer to as a crunchy codenames. It also goes up to 8 players and is really a word game for core gamers. Each team is going to have a screen with their 4 code words, and they'll all get to know them, but they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. The clue giver will have a code number, so it might be 431 or 234. And they're going to use those numbers to give clues to their team to get the code correct. However, the other team will be listening every single clue and writing down notes, trying to decipher the clue themselves as well. You don't have to know the word, you just have to get the code correct. And so it really has this tension of trying to come up with a word that your team will get correct, but it's obscure enough that the other team doesn't know it. And when you do that correctly, especially multiple times, and throw off the other team, it makes you feel so smart. And that is the biggest benefit of it. I'd say this is definitely a little step up from some of the other party games, but one I would recommend to any group, especially if you do like to play heavier games and you need something to kind of fill that void in between that plays in less than 30 minutes. So that is Decrypto. Moving on to the party game with the highest player count on my list, and that is Monikers. Now this goes up to 16 players, is a great party game that you can play with a lot of people with beverages included as well. It is one of the games that always creates inside jokes and a lot of laughs. It is based on the public domain game called Celebrity. Maybe it's called Punch Bowl where you grew up, and you will do 1 round of full description kind of catchphrase rules, 1 round of 1 word, and 1 round of charades. And you use the same pool of cards each time, and they have various scores, and all the nouns are created for you, which is really nice. Love it. It comes in a nice small box. I even bought an expansion once we started learning the words a little bit too much. And it is always a great time, especially with non-gamers, so I would highly recommend Monikers. On to the final game that has an exclamation point in the title, and that is Sushi Go Party. Now, I have been playing Sushi Go for a long time. It goes up to 8 players in the party version and has a lot more menu items. The basic premise of Sushi Go is look at 7 cards, and then pick one and pass the rest of the hand. And now you have 6 cards to look at, pick one and pass the other 5. And I've always enjoyed it, especially when I was newer to the hobby, but I've really had a blast with it lately on Board Game Arena. We do virtual board game nights regularly, and this has been coming up a lot because there's just so much replayability. Shout out to Phil Walker Harding, praise be. The art in Sushi Go is extremely cute, and the little sake player tokens are awesome as well. So it is a lovely game. If you like the original Sushi Go, you will love Sushi Go Party. Here is another party game that goes up to 12 players, and that is Wavelength. This is a game where you are trying to get on the same wavelength as your teammates with these abstract ideas. So there is a card that might say hot on the left side and cold on the right side. And then you will turn the dial and see where the perfect target is on that dial. And you need to come up with a term that will get your teammates to get the dial right on there. If it's very far to the right on the cold side, then you might say ice cream or glacier. And similarly to Decrypto, I feel like this is a game as the clue giver that can make you feel very smart when you get your team to get it correctly. And I think that is something I love in party games especially. But this is one that is, again, almost like an activity to the point where it doesn't feel like a traditional board game. There even is an app version that you can just try this out. So I think this is another hit for people who are just interested in party games, beer and pretzels types games. Let me know if you'd be interested in a video on games that pair well with beer and pretzels. But Wavelength is one of those games that gets requested often at my big group gatherings with my friends, and so I think it was one that will hit with a lot of folks in your group as well. Finally, we have a classic, and that is Pit. This is a fast-paced and loud 8-player game that was actually came out in 1904, so it's been around for a very long time. I played this a lot growing up with my family. We are loud as well. What it is basically a deck of cards of all these different commodities, and then there is a bell in the middle of the table. Everyone is going to be looking at their hand and trying to match all the commodities in their hand. There is wheat and oranges and barley. And so then you're screaming out, trying to get anyone's attention. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, yelling a number of face down cards, and you are trying to trade the exact same amount of commodities with someone else until you match your hand. There are 2 cards in there, the bear and the bull, because the game is kind of based on the stock market, and they have a positive and a negative effect in the game. But it is a classic. It is loud. It is fun. It is not for everyone. But I think if you want a game that's fast paced and high energy, you really can't do much better than Pit at that player count. Also, it's great at like 6 to 8. So you don't need it to be super high player count, but it's not great in my opinion at like 3 or 4 players. So there you go. Those are my top 8 games for 8 or more players. I really appreciate you sticking around. Hold out for a few more seconds and you will get to see my favorite board game meme. Until then, please, I invite you to leave a like or subscribe. We're going for 500 subscribers here. I've got a lot of video ideas coming down the pipe, and I will be going to Dice Tower West in Las Vegas in a few weeks, and we'll make some great content off of that as well. Thank you so much for sticking around, and hope to see you in my next video. Jesus Christ. Can I speak English? Now I'm going to talk about the #1 party game according to BGG,